he wears a pocket protector as a fashion accessory, but he is a nerd. Helping you gain the upper hand with your computer, here is Benjamin Rockwell with Computer Talk Radio.
The website, computertalkradio.com, computertalkradio.com. The phone number, 888-NERD, 888, that's 888-6373-888. I am a computer nerd, and I enjoy doing this, bringing you technology, bringing you news of technology, answering your questions, all of that. So that's why I give you the phone number and the website, and we do answer questions. We don't do as much in the way of answering questions on the air these days, and one of these days here we'll probably spend an entire show just answering questions, but that won't be today. Coming up later on this hour, Keith M. Sedor will be discussing what to do. I've got a MacBook here, and I'm wondering, is there a way to get a little bit more speed out of it and so forth, because it's an older unit. We're going to also have Marty Winston here, and Marty is developing the 40-year house. We normally have him in the second hour, but we'll have him here. And then next up this hour, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to stay somewhat away from the election, but there are certain things I do want to hit on in regards to the election. For instance, how I went absolutely nerdy on election night. How does a nerd handle this entire concept of watching the election? And so that'll be next up. But first, let's go into the news. And in the news, and maybe this isn't news for you, it's not safe yet to go onto Facebook. It's not safe yet to go on to pretty much any of the social media platforms. I'm thinking through Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. Everybody is still kind of, they're really wound up, and they are expressing their elation. Sometimes it's elation, sometimes it's grief, in very different ways. And the battle continues on Facebook. Somebody sent me an interesting quote, and I'm not going to pick on any side here, but I'm just going to read this quote, and I want you to reflect on this before we, because this is a news thing. Normally I'd do this at the end of the segment. I'll probably actually finish off this hour still touching on this, but one of the truest signs of maturity is the ability to disagree with someone while still remaining respectful. And, we'll get into that more later, I guess. This has been a very interesting week. A number of different groups have gone in different directions. The CEO of Grubhub all but actually threatened his employees with being fired if they want to support Donald Trump in any way. Well, okay, he didn't quite go that far, but there was some very interesting wording that some of the legal scholars have said, yeah, he's walking on very thin ice. The flip side, Huffington Post, very famous for being, way over on the anti-Trump side, the left wing there, the left end of the left wing. I shouldn't say that because they do have a couple of conservatives over there, but not many. One of the things that they did early on in the election campaign was they had an editor's note to any coverage of Donald Trump. And they utilized a number of very acerbic words to describe how they felt he was. And they stated just almost immediately, here, let me read this quote. We're not going to do the same as far as what people have done in regards to questioning the legitimacy of a different presidency. Over the past, a number of groups had questioned a certain legitimacy of a certain president. Quote, "We're not going to do the same, whether we like it or not, and let's continue to be honest. We don't." Okay, it's Huffington Post. They're left wing. They're being honest. He won the election. It was a win that was at once foreseeable, yet one we failed badly to see. And they're basically saying they're going to embrace this. They're going to be polite. The conversations, the comments that were following that were so mean. The various people calling out Huffington Post, saying you guys are traitors to the cause. You guys are just shills now for Donald Trump. All this stuff. It was just amazing. There are going to be some very interesting things, of course, in regards to tech in the coming days. One of the things, of course, is that Peter Thiel, he's a big name, and of course, Silicon Valley. He is going to probably have a very direct relationship with the campaign, and that is going to be good, because one of the things that I had been a little uncomfortable with was, of course, that both sides seemed to be distanced from technology. There's a distinct misunderstanding of the usage of technology from one group, and another group was, well, we'll just say, kind of forgetting that Twitter goes everywhere. So this is one of those things that, we're going to have to be dealing with. So, I'm hoping, well, we're already seeing glimpses that Donald Trump is going to embrace technology and support it. So we'll see how that all unfolds, how that's going to be coming along at us. And I don't know if you've experienced this. Over the course of the last few months, you may have unfollowed a number of people on Facebook or wherever else, and some people may have unfollowed you. And this is a chance for us to kind of come through and really stop, settle down, and relax. Samsung's got some problems. Another 2.8 million washing machines have been recalled. And this is an ongoing disaster for Samsung. This is 3 different recalls this year. And I shouldn't even say this year. It's within the last 6 months. Some of these, basically, the latest one is beyond the whole kitchen on fire. There are 733 reports that washing machines experienced excessive vibration or the top detaching from the washing machine chassis, with injuries associated with this, including a broken jaw for one person. Wow. That just boggles my mind. We've got fires, we've got washing machines just falling apart, or again catching on fire. I'm very leery at the moment, and I'm wondering what is going to happen over the long haul with them. One of the big things that has been coming out lately, Wendy's has been talking about revamping how they do things. Yeah, Wendy's, the burger company. If you have a Wendy's near you and there's somebody who's behind the counter, well, they're realizing that paying them $15 an hour to take your order, to say, would you like fries with that, is kind of ridiculous when they can put a computer there, a touch screen, which is a one-time purchase with a little bit of software tweaks here and there. Elon Musk, however, has also stated robots are going to take our jobs. He's actually come out in favor of this concept of the minimum living wage that the government is going to have to pay for people whose jobs whose roles will be eliminated. And I feel uncomfortable with supporting something like this, but we do need to be aware of the thought, the concept that our economy is going to be changing over the course of the next 10, 15, 20 years as certain jobs are truly eliminated by technology. Of course, many jobs have been eliminated by technology for many centuries. So, who knows? Coming up next, let me talk to you about how a nerd watches the election here on Computer Talk Radio.
Let me tell you about The Radio Factory, an exciting new venue for talk radio. It's the internet, the wave of the present. My name is Benjamin Rockwell, and I'm the host of a syndicated radio program, Computer Talk Radio, so I know the internet is here and now. Many of the hosts at theradiofactory.com have their own podcasts or radio shows across the country, but many people like the comfort of listening to their own special radio show at a specific time and day, much like we watch live television. The internet, as you're probably aware, is a powerful tool that allows the Radio Factory to deliver unique programming with far more variety than the windbags who are simply about contriving up viewpoints to get you riled up. Additionally, you'll find that many of the programs are shorter, giving more information in less time. Stick with theradiofactory.com and see how it evolves to keep you entertained, interested, informed, and above all, intelligent. After all, the Radio Factory motto is building your intelligence one talk show at a time. theradiofactory.com.
The website, computertalkradio.com. Computer Talk Radio. You know what? Actually, I'm going to tell you the phone number because it's kind of evident as to what kind of person I am. It's 888-NERD. 888. You know, that rings to my cell phone. If you have computer problems, you can reach me there, and that's because I'm a nerd. So how does a nerd like me, like any nerd, how do they handle monitoring something that is so major as far as technology? And I will tell you, before I dive too far into this, I made my decision quite late in the game. I am not some rabid person who says, "Oh, I have to know that my person won." No, I just wanted to know what was going to be coming up next. And part of that was because in California, where I reside, the election is already decided. Those electoral votes, the 55 electoral votes, were going to go to Hillary Clinton, whether I voted for her, whether I voted for Gary Johnson, whether I voted for Evan McMullin, or if I voted for Donald Trump. It didn't matter where those votes were going to go. It was always going to be a protest vote if I were going to vote not Hillary. So, I forgot Jill Stein in that mix, I think. Donald Trump, Evan McMullin, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein. Okay, and, of course, Hillary Clinton. It doesn't matter, though. So what did I do, though? I wanted to know the results. Now, my brother-in-law, he is, we'll just say, he wears a red hat with white writing all the time. He has for a number of months. I'll let you take a guess as to who he might be supporting. I knew that it would be fun to watch the election with him, though, because he's a lot more of a political junkie than I am. I'm a nerd junkie. I enjoy CES. So what did we do? What did I do? Because I wanted to make it fun for him, too. So I have a television in the living room. But I also have a television up in the bedroom, and I have a television that I had not hooked up in my office yet. 2.5 years I've been living here. I should really hook up that television sooner or later. Anyways, I went and I set up all three of those televisions in the living room. One television had Fox News, the other one had another one had CNN, and another one had Sky News. I wanted to see kind of what the British response was. I then set up 3 different laptops. So I had a laptop for myself, and I had a laptop for Bill, that's my brother-in-law, and I had a laptop which had a couple of options. I'd already set up, okay, this is what the predictions were. This is what all the polls said would happen. The last minute polls from Real Clear Politics. I also set it up with a couple of different news sites, Drudge Report, and I think Huffington was one of them. So we could bounce between any of those sites and see what the latest updates were. Now, I want you to think about this. We had a news feed equivalent to, or as close as you could get to a newsroom at this point. Either Bill or myself could look up all kinds of information at any point in time, whether we wanted to fact check something that somebody was saying, or we wanted to go through and look up how the numbers were going in a particular state and started drilling down. One of the more interesting items that I found in amongst all of this as we were sitting there watching with, I mean, the room, we could have turned off the lights and still been able to read. The room was lit up with the LED, LCD monitors and screens in there. One of the sites that I found myself going to on a regular basis, which kind of surprised me because of their known left-wing stance, and that is the New York Times. The New York Times was actually being quoted by Drudge Report, which is, of course, known for being, we'll just say they're not friends with the Clintons. We'll stick with that. So I started watching those numbers. The New York Times website impressed me with how they were monitoring all of the different numbers coming in. I don't know if you had a chance to watch this. As a matter of fact, they're still updating this as I speak right now, as I'm recording this. We still have a few states which are still outstanding, and they're still tracking these numbers. They're still updating these numbers, so you can see who has what chance, who's ahead, who's behind, and stuff like that. We could see a number of these states. While the numbers were coming in, we could see what kind of percentage that Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump had. Of course, the rest of them didn't have much of a chance at all. But the New York Times also did their homework. We saw this on CNN and Fox when they would pull up an individual state and they'd say, okay, here in this county, there's a bunch of college students and they're going to vote in this direction. And there's a whole bunch of old people in this community over here, so they're going to vote in a different direction. This is a military community and this is all this. And they unwrapped all of these different numbers. Well, New York Times had a running tally of how many votes had come in from each district. And they knew from past experience how those districts voted in a particular direction, and also the rest of the demographic information. Demographics being, of course, how many men, how many women, how many people who are millennials, how many people who are baby boomers, and so forth. All of these different age ranges, and whether it's a high Hispanic community, African American community, Asian American community. I'm sorry, I should have said Hispanic American. I think, I don't know. But you've got the concept there. I hope. I found that number set very interesting. I found that I could predict these states as they were coming across. Well, actually, New York Times did the prediction. And New York Times did all of the number crunching for me. And we could see, this person here, Hillary Clinton, had a 5% chance of winning in this particular state. as the numbers went down, because they were following the, who has the lead, who doesn't have the lead, and they had a number range around that. I'm telling you, for a statistics junkie, that was awesome. That was amazing. The ability to poke back and forth between the different states to see the national point and see how many different electoral votes were completed. It was astounding. Bill, my brother-in-law, came to me afterwards. He said, I had no idea what it would be like to be a nerd following the election, but that totally rocked. All of this, we had information. It wasn't overload. Had we had like 3 more laptops apiece, it would have been information overload. But there was just enough for us to dive into different directions to see how everything was unfolding. It was an exciting glimpse. It was something that we have the ability to. We've gone with this concept of the second screen experience on a number of TV shows. And I think there's something to that. I think the ability for us to dig deeper into what's going on with our favorite drama or comedy that's up on the big screen, or, medium screen, I guess, and for us to find out interesting things as we're following along, that was actually really empowering. It was really fun. Would I do it again? I don't know. We'll find out in 4 years. Marty Winston's joining me next here on Computer Talk Radio. I'm constantly looking for the right place to get computer hardware. It's not easy, as there are so many stores that have gone out of business, so many shady characters online, or they're simply not capable of handling diverse needs. In 1979, 2 guys got together and built a computer company that could serve your nerdy needs. Micro Center. The wide range of products at Micro Center includes even the latest of Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and other hobbyist-level computers. They also have drones. They've got them in all price categories, from toys to, oh boy. Look, you're looking for console gaming, home automation. Micro Center's got that. Hardware, software, accessories, or, whatever. It doesn't matter. From Apple to Zyxel, Micro Center has what you're looking for. 25 stores across the nation, or you can check them out online at microcenter.com. That's microcenter.com. The phone number, 888-NERD, 888, that's 888-6373-888. Any computer questions, any questions on any of the topics we've got going on here, give me a holler. Marty Winston joins me now, and he is the brain behind the 40-Year House. The website, of course, 40yearhouse.com. And Marty, one of the things that you're doing, a gazillion things from east to west, north to south, inside and outside of the house. One of the questions that kind of just comes to mind is, where are you not reinventing the wheel? Where are you simply relying on what's been around for ages and doesn't need reinventing?
Well, there's a couple of ways to answer that. In its purest form, we're not reinventing windows. We are using some best-of-breed windows, but we're not changing them in any way. We're really not reinventing doors. Interior doors, exterior doors are more or less off-the-shelf items. Flooring, we have choices to make, and it's not going to be carpet. But we're looking at wooden flooring and some of the alternatives. In fact, in the workspace and in the bonus room, we're looking at cork flooring, but we're not inventing that. That's already there. The kitchen appliances, by and large, things that you can buy at an appliance store. The fireplace is a gas fireplace. the furniture is whatever ends up there.
It's a sofa. How many ways can we reinvent something that's a sitting implement that's been around for 400 years, 500 years? Yeah, okay.
Don't ask a house with teenagers.
So this is one of those things which, as you listed those off, I realized, of course, there are going to be a number of different things like this that it's just going to be standard run of the mill.
Well, not necessarily quite that ordinary.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, for example, the cupboards and the countertops.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting them at Home Depot. All respect to Home Depot, they've got some good stuff, and all respect to anybody who's got their stuff in their homes. But this house is getting a lot of spotlight, and one of the things we want to do is to make the ingredients of the house consistent with the theme, whether they've been invented and there for a long time or not. And another thing we want to do is to take those vendors out there who have really interesting products that have benefits against our context of energy miserly and 40-year maintenance-free and autonomous, and give them a showcase where their product can stand out, even if it happens to be cupboards or countertops or faucets. I mean, whatever it is, knobs on cabinets too. I mean, there are things in the house that are pretty much run-of-the-mill that we haven't invented, but we want to still be somewhat selective in not necessarily choosing things that are posh, but choosing things that are consistent to our themes.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be durable, and I think that's an overriding theme throughout, isn't it?
Well, as you know, I'm living in a community just a few miles away where I watch dozens of homes go up in a week using the finest cardboard and staplers.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm just thinking, okay, whatever I'm doing is the opposite of that.
Are you going over and studying how they're doing it to learn things that they're doing wrong, or I did.
In fact, I did that. I don't continue to do that, but I did do that. There was a hole in the back fence, and they were building on the other side of the block, so I was taking a look at exactly how they went in, what they were doing, what the process was, and as they proceeded down the block, you could almost watch the phases from left to right.
Oh, wow, okay.
Actually, to be accurate, right to left.
So with all of this, I presume it's going to be, for instance, probably double pane windows or triple pane windows?
Oh, yes, yeah. And we're talking to Wavjamr, and they're just absolutely brilliant. In Windows, and I had to learn this, you specify your windows differently for east-west versus north-south.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because the thermal path is different.
Okay.
And you also specify climate, so the selection of glasses of gases and of coatings on the glass make a difference. I'm not inventing any of this. I'm just letting them choose what they regard as best of breed in our context, and that's what the house will have. And I'm so impressed with Wavjamr. If you guys are looking at windows, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them. There are other things too where it's a matter of choice. My wife refuses to have an exterior door that isn't wood. Well, that's really just the front door.
Okay.
The garage access door, she doesn't care. So, yes, that should be a wood door. Glass panels around it, yes, to the extent that it doesn't, how shall I put this? You'd have to be really, really, really skinny to get egress through our glass.
And I imagine it's probably at least some kind of coating so that it's you've got privacy, or maybe not.
No,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, let me say that optically it is not a plain glass.
Okay. Yeah.
Then again, if we want to see anything, we'd probably have 5 cameras there. So.
Yeah, you've got all kinds of angles on what the person looks like that's at the front door. Oh,
I could probably give you his weight.
There's a little sensor underneath the mat, and when he walks up, he stands there. If he holds still for just a moment, we know exactly how big of a guy he is. I like that.
And if there's enough meat, we leave him in the pet room for the dog.
Oh, my. There's a little trap door underneath, right? Oh,
I
wow.
wouldn't say little.
Oh, yeah, big trapdoor. Oh, wow. All right. Well, the website for this entire autonomous house project is 40yearhouse.com. And if you've got any questions, any thoughts, ideas, comments in regards to this, feel free to fill him in. Contact Marty on the website, or you can contact him if you go to our website, computertalkradio.com. Click on Contact Us. We'll make sure any information, anything you want to send him, gets sent on to him. This is Benjamin Rockwell. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, this is Benjamin Rockwell. Most of us use digital cameras nowadays, but what do we do with those old pictures and slides in the back of the closet? Well, let me tell you about Legacy Digital Productions. They specialize in taking your old memories on film, videotape, and slides and digitizing them to DVDs. If you have boxes of old slides, then you know they fade more and more each year. Let Legacy Digital scan them for you and stop the aging process dead in its tracks. You'll get beautiful 10-megapixel digital files, color-corrected and ready for printing. All this is done faster and cheaper than buying a film scanner and doing it yourself. Your files are then burned onto gold archival DVD discs where they will last for generations. Call right now, mention my name, Benjamin Rockwell, and receive a 30% discount on your order. Call toll-free 1-866-2-LEGACY. That's 1-866-2-LEGACY. And tell them Benjamin sent you. Your memories are priceless, so call 866-2-LEGACY now.
Benjamin Rockwell is a PC. Keith M. Sedor is a Mac. Yeah, we laugh about it around the office, too.
The phone number, 888-NERD, 888. That's 888-6373-888. You know, I've got a MacBook Pro here, Keith, that, all right, maybe it is one of those situations where I should probably just get a different one. But if it were somewhat newer, let's say it were a 2-year-old MacBook Pro, and I wanted to get a little bit of extra speed out of it, would I do the same thing with that I would do with a PC?
Well, Benjamin, we are in an entirely different world for the owners of current MacBook Pros and recent MacBook Pros than we are, say, those who have 2011 or older MacBook Pros.
2009. Yeah.
Well, you're still in a good spot, Benjamin, because once we get to the Retina MacBook Pros, we start losing the ability to modify them in mid-life cycle. Because one of the things, one of the things I've always done with my clients is life cycle planning. Life cycle planning is very important on the purchase of any computer, especially a Mac. Normally, when we plan out a 5-year life cycle for a Mac, we normally figure out how much memory we need to get started and where we'll need to be by the time we end. And so usually what that would have involved is adding extra memory, doubling the memory at the midway point, about 2.5 years in. We'll kind of refresh everything, install a new copy of a new operating system, whatever's current at the time, and then also double the memory. So this way, the second half of the life cycle is as robust as the first. But what Apple has done is they have taken away the user serviceability features, meaning that you no longer have the ability to open up your MacBook Pro and add extra memory because now the memory is soldered to the logic board.
Ouch.
So instead of starting with 8 megabytes and then bumping it up to 16 midway for, let's say, a Mac laptop, you now need to know what you need to end with is 16. You now need to start with 16.
Okay.
And the same holds true with hard drives. I have a 2011 MacBook Pro that has been absolutely wonderful.
So they're soldering the hard drives in as well?
Well, they're not actually using hard drives any longer. They're using flash memory, which is now part of the logic board.
Yeah, okay.
But here's what I have, Benjamin. I've got a 2011 MacBook Pro, which I believe shipped with 4 gigabytes of RAM and either a 250 or a 500 gigabyte hard drive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it has an i7 processor. This is really one of the keys to one of the older machines. Is if you don't have the slower processors like the i3 or the i3 was only available in the iMac, but the i5. If you actually have a MacBook Pro with an i7 processor, which is the fastest processor they offer, you can actually do a couple of things with some of these older Macs, like doubling the memory, maxing it out at 16 gigabytes, or possibly putting in a larger hard drive or an SSD. It really depends upon your budget. I actually opted for greater capacity at a more budget price. So I actually went from the 512 gigabyte SSD that it came with. I upgraded that to a 1 terabyte hard drive. And then when it became available, I replaced it with a 2 terabyte hard drive. So I now have a MacBook Pro with an i7 processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage in a laptop.
Okay. So it's probably pretty well screaming by now.
It is.
Okay.
And one of the things that was really cool was that Apple really takes care of their own. They had a recall program for a video issue. It was the video part of the logic board.
Yeah.
And there is no separate daughter board that they swap out. So Apple, when this computer was 4+ years old, replaced the entire logic board at no cost to me. So it's like I've got a brand new computer all over again, and it's great.
Okay. Nice. So all the way around that worked out. And now, did they complain that you upgraded the memory or the hard drive, or was it?
It's funny you should ask, because when I got the computer back, I got a little Mylar pouch with my original 16 gigabytes of RAM in the pouch, and Apple certified 8 gigabytes, which is, I believe, what this machine shipped with, saying that the memory I had in there was not up to their specifications. But when I called our good friends over at Other Worlds Computing to tell them that Apple said this, they were like, oh, yeah, Apple does this all the time. I guarantee if you put that memory back in and run your tests, it'll work just fine. And they were right. Sure. And it did. So I didn't even need to return the memory. I just popped it back in. And now I've got an extra 8 gigabytes of RAM that I don't know what to do with.
Okay. So this is so the people who have the newer stuff, they're kind of stuck. There's not
They are. And one of the things I impress upon people when they're buying these machines is that one of the upsides is that because there's no hard drive inside, there's no moving parts, there's no spindle or bearings to fail on it, but you need to factor into your purchasing decision ahead of time, meaning you have to lay out all the cash up front. There is no adding these things later on down the line.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's something that because of the fact that the price of hard drives comes down, the price of the SSDs has come down, the price of RAM comes down, and it just that's something that we do over in the PC world a lot. We'll upgrade portions of it.
Yeah, and you have to decide. You have to decide whether or not you want to go for speed or for the value of price, because if you are okay with giving up a little bit of speed, you can have a really big hard drive. Otherwise, you can spend a little more money and get a super fast, super quiet, no moving parts, solid state drive.
Yep. This is Benjamin Rockwell.
And I'm Keith M. Sedor.
You're listening to Computer Talk Radio. I'll be back in just a moment. Years ago, I found a web hosting company that fit my needs as a computer nerd, as a radio show host, and just a normal person. Recently, though, it was clear to me that it was time to upgrade, but I had a choice between my old plan and the new one at 7 times the cost. It was that awkward point where I could choose between a sip of water or being dunked in a pool. I searched around, comparing the many options for someone like me. After searching around for 3 weeks, there it was, SiteGround. In proper fashion, I tested their customer service, their knowledge, and their willingness to do things the right way.
The SiteGround salesman made sure that I didn't overbuy and get a 50-gallon bucket when a 32-ounce soda would do. These guys know WordPress, Joomla, and regular standard websites. These guys at SiteGround are awesome. SiteGround.com. Site, S-I-T-E, ground.com.
I opened this hour talking about how people should probably not go onto Facebook quite yet, or Snapchat, or whatever. There's a certain amount of vitriol that still is going back and forth. There's a certain amount of gloating by some parties. I will tell you, the vitriol that I'm seeing is on a scale that is 10 to 1 over the gloating. I'm astounded at this. And I really wish that everybody would stop. We all need to stop. We need to take a little bit of a reflection on the fact that the president, while they do have some power, they're not this big, huge person that is going to change every facet of our lives. There's been a vote. There's been an installment, the preliminary portions of the installment of who is going to be the top leader in our country. But I wish to have you reflect on, you've got a boss at work. And sometimes, you're in a small company and, you deal with your boss a lot more. You may be the boss in your company. But in a larger company, I will tell you, I worked for Unical, 6,000 employees. I never saw the top guy at the company. I never saw them at all. When I worked for New Century Mortgage, about 4,000 employees. Yes, I saw some of the top dogs once in a while, but that was due to my position within the company. Many people didn't see these guys. How much does the president of Unical know about me or even think about me? They have one job, to lead Unical. Okay, Unical's out of business. They were bought by another company. But how much impact did Barack Obama have personally on you? The answer is probably not a lot. There were certain things, yes, depending on how you feel in regards to Obamacare, it probably helped you or hindered you in various ways, and that was probably about it. There might have been a couple of other things along the way, but they weren't distinct major things. Yeah, we're looking for a leader. We're looking for somebody to lead us. But how much true impact are they going to have on our day-to-day lives? Yeah, they can have some. But I'll tell you, it's not the end of the world. It's not something that we need to panic over. It's not something that we need to rub in other people's faces. It's not something that we should be even... We need to just... I don't know. I hate quoting somebody who's been in trouble so many times, but there is that concept of, can't we all just get along? And I'm hoping that we can. I'm hoping that in a few weeks this will all die down and we'll be able to go back to our regular day-to-day mundane Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. I'm hoping. This is Benjamin Rockwell. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio.
Let me tell you about The Radio Factory, an exciting new venue for talk radio. It's the internet, the wave of the present. My name is Benjamin Rockwell, and I'm the host of a syndicated radio program, Computer Talk Radio. So I know the internet is here and now. Many of the hosts at theradiofactory.com have their own podcasts or radio shows across the country, but many people like the comfort of listening to their own special radio show at a specific time and day, much like we watch live television. The internet, as you're probably aware, is a powerful tool that allows the Radio Factory to deliver unique programming with far more variety than the windbags who are simply about contriving up viewpoints to get you riled up. Additionally, you'll find that many of the programs are shorter, giving more information in less time. Stick with the radiofactory.com and see how it evolves to keep you entertained, interested, informed, and above all, intelligent. After all, the Radio Factory motto is building your intelligence one talk show at a time. TheRadioFactory.com.
Can't find out what to buy at the computer store? Benjamin Rockwell's got the answer. Translating technobabble to English, your translation expert, Benjamin Rockwell, is here with Computer Talk Radio.
The website, computertalkradio.com, computertalkradio.com. The phone number, 888-NERD, 888, that's 888-637-3888. I am a computer nerd. I enjoy all kinds of technology items. And, I have had very few run-ins with the law. Oh, well, wait a second. Yeah, I'm going to confess something. Well, I didn't really actually get into trouble once we sorted it all out. Once we explained out all of the problems that were going on. And we go back years ago. And what happened was there was this series of computers called FidoNet. And this was back in the days of the bulletin board service. And these computers would dial each other and exchange information. They were the precursor, if you will, to what we think of today as the World Wide Web, or how internet traffic worked. So my computer would dial up a computer a couple of cities away, and it would exchange information overnight. And it would spend just a matter of 5 minutes or less exchanging information there. And then the next computer would dial up, and each of us would dial all of these different locations. And it was usually a local phone call, or at least very low priced. So they would echo all of this information, kind of like the game of phone tag. You're passing the information along from one to another. Well, this is actually able to work really fast. You could transmit messages across the country in a matter of hours by doing this because of the way everything was routed. Well, what happened was somebody changed a phone number and they got it wrong. They wound up so that my computer was dialing a little old lady in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she was not happy. She was not happy at all. So what she did was she called the cops. Well, it wasn't just my computer calling her. It was a number of other computers that were calling her. I just happened to be one of them, and they managed to find who I was and where I was and what my phone number was. So they got on the phone to talk with me. And they thought, well, initially they thought I was doing something bad. And then they thought, oh, I'm doing something called wardiling. We'll get into that wardiling here in a moment. What happened was, well, yeah, I told them, hey, I can see exactly what's going on here. This is why some of my information is not being transmitted across the country. They were fascinated by this entire concept. The local cops, and at that point in time, they had no idea all of the levels of technology. Technology has moved along quite a bit over the years. Back then, the amount of computer nerds that were around were very few. Today, a little bit more. So, basically, they thought at one point that I was dialing random numbers. Just going around and just sending out all of these random numbers and waiting for someone to, some computer to pick up. Well, that's sort of what happened with something called Wardriving. We'll talk about that here in a moment as well. The concept of dialing all of these numbers was wardiling. You're dialing first 734-0001. Then 734-0002, then 734-0003. You get the idea there? And it just keeps on going until it finds a computer. And then it exchanges information, and that's how you find new computers. If you've ever seen the movie War Games, that's exactly what they did. Wardialing. So how does this all tie in? Well, I sorted that out for the kind little old lady, and we figured out exactly what was going on, and poof, problem solved. We had to just set the new phone numbers and fix all of that. But bad guys have been using this technology for a while. They've done a lot of different things, and a while back, what happened was, some of these folks were going through and war driving. So they're driving around, and they're looking for open network routers. Your broadband router, your 802.11g or 11n router. That's your Wi-Fi access. And they actually broke into some serious companies. Office Max, Barnes & Noble, TJ Maxx, Sports Authority, and so forth and so on. And scattered around the world, these hackers just kept on driving near these stores and looking for the networks and just getting in there. Sometimes it's pretty easy to get into them. Sometimes they also give you a lot of information like, okay, this is Office Max 1, Office Max 2, Office Max 3. They're the 3 routers right there. All you have to do is just park near the store, and you have access all of a sudden to all of the network traffic if you can break in. And that's what they did. They broke in, and then they started to intercept the traffic which was there. How did they do that? There's this concept, an electronic concept called the sniffer. The sniffer just monitors traffic going back and forth. It's kind of like this. If I say something to you, and we're in a private room, it's all sealed up, nobody's going to hear it. But if we're in the middle of a dinner party, I say something to you, the other people in the room can hear that. They're sniffing around where it's none of their business, just like the bad guys were doing. So imagine I'm giving you my credit card information or my PIN number, and I'm doing that right there. All of these folks right around us can hear that. That is what these bad guys were doing. They took all of this information. They would sit outside the Office Max, and they'd take the information. Then they would actually sell the numbers and the information off to somebody else. And then somebody else would sell that along to somebody else. And they would actually imprint this information onto blank cards to allow people to withdraw from ATMs, to buy things from, as an example, Amazon or whatever else. There's just all kinds of different ways that they utilize your credit card number. Now, I've told you in the past how you protect your router, because we do still have this situation where people do utilize open routers. Don't use WEP. Don't use WPA. As a matter of fact, if you've got a router that still uses WEP, let me rephrase this. If you have a router that doesn't have WPA2, you need to replace it. It's that simple. From there, you just use strong passwords, passphrases. I really need to get in the habit of saying passphrases, something long. Make it a matter of 4 or 5 words long, something that's easy for you to remember. For God so loved the world. There you go. There's a password. Add in some punctuation and number or 2, and we're starting to get strong. Now, fortunately these days, when you're exchanging information to Amazon, it's securing the information between your computer and Amazon. The only way that anybody can figure out that information by sniffing is by basically, they have to know all of the encryption information between your computer and Amazon. That is so hard to break, it's not even funny. But I still want you to do something that Mom and Dad always taught us about this. And you and I may not do this. Balance your checkbook. We don't really even balance a checkbook anymore because we don't have checkbooks as much anymore than as we used to. but you can still balance your accounts online. You can still count your pennies and know exactly how much you have, how much you've spent. And my wife and I track this all the time. We do that actually quite heavily. We monitor all of our credit card usage, and our bank probably thinks we're crazy because we send them an inquiry, well, I don't know, maybe once or twice a month, saying, what's this? And it's always normal. We always figure it out, but we want to make sure we know this information. Computer networks and the internet, they're indispensable parts of the world economy. And even though they provide a wonderful opportunity for legitimate commerce and communication, they provide opportunities for the bad guys. I give you this information, and I'm willing to give you even more information in regards to how to remain secure. I want you to have that knowledge because knowledge is, of course, key. So feel free to contact me. Go to Computer Talk Radio and fill out the information there. Go sliding on down to where it says Contact Us. I will give you any hints. I'll answer any questions in regards to how to keep your computer secure. That's just one of the topics that I'm more than willing to answer your questions on here at Computer Talk Radio. I'll be back with more in just a moment.
Let me tell you about The Radio Factory, an exciting new venue for talk radio. It's the internet, the wave of the present. My name is Benjamin Rockwell, and I'm the host of a syndicated radio program, Computer Talk Radio. So I know the internet is here and now. Many of the hosts at theradiofactory.com have their own podcasts or radio shows across the country, but many people like the comfort of listening to their own special radio show at a specific time and day, much like we watch live television. The internet, as you're probably aware, is a powerful tool that allows the Radio Factory to deliver unique programming with far more variety than the windbags who are simply about contriving up viewpoints to get you riled up. Additionally, you'll find that many of the programs are shorter, giving more information in less time. Stick with theradiofactory.com and see how it evolves to keep you entertained, interested, informed, and above all, intelligent. After all, the Radio Factory motto is building your intelligence one talk show at a time. theradiofactory.com.
The website, computertalkradio.com, computertalkradio.com. That's how you can reach myself, the nerd. Yeah, Benjamin Rockwell. That's how you can reach me. Just go to computertalkradio.com. Slide down just a little bit. See where it says Contact Us? Yeah, that leads to a brand new page with a number of different ways to contact us. The most important one, send me emails on anything you want, and I will get back with you. And if you send something to any of the rest of us here, just put their name on it, and I will make sure that they get back to you, that they answer your question, your issue, your comment, whatever it is. The internet, as we are all aware, is a crazy place. It's full of potholes. It's full of maniacs, bad guys, folks who are out to do one thing, separate you from your cold, hard cash. And some of these things that I'm going to mention are ways where they're going to get your money. But some of these are just good ideas that you must avoid doing on the internet. And that's what this is. This is the top things for you not to do on the internet ever, 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 ever. Okay, first one. Just say no to forwarding chain letters to your friends and family. Okay, now, I want to qualify this. There are places to forward information, and there's information to forward. The funny stuff, once in a while, but make it the funniest stuff. Don't forward on 50 things in a day, every day, for the rest of your life. That says, it says something about you spending way too much time on the funny stuff on the internet, that you're obsessive there. Don't go out of your way. Don't go crazy on this. Especially there's some of these things that say, you're going to have no friends if you don't do this. You're going to be a social pariah if you don't forward this on. If it is a blatant chain letter, I assure you somebody's already forwarded it on to your friends. So don't be that one. Especially there's one that goes around every once in a while, and it's basically it quotes a particular quote that Jesus said. If you deny me before man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Look, these items that say if you don't forward this email, then you're proving that you don't love Jesus and you're doomed to eternal destruction. Look, it is scripturally unsound. It is one of those things where, yes, if you are confronted, if somebody asks you, hey, are you a believer? Yes, that's when we are called to stand and say, yes, I believe. But this idea of, you have to do something else beyond that, no. Next one, do not use the password. Yeah, that's right. Don't use the word password as your password. Don't use your birthday, the names of children's pets, all numbers in a row, 11111, or something like that. Don't use any bad words. Don't use any real words if you can avoid it. The big thing these days, we're talking about passphrases, not passwords. Passphrases. You put together a matter of 5, 6, 7 words in a row. A Bible quote is really an ideal one, especially if you're putting in instead of putting in like Genesis 1:1 in the beginning, et cetera, et cetera. Put in GN or GEN 1:1, or maybe even semicolon 1:1, which means you're basically doing something just a little bit odd, a little bit different to kind of throw things off. So, stay away from common passwords. Another one, do not buy merchandise found in your spam. Yeah, you're getting spam. You're getting emails from all of these different places. There are a few places where you can be safe with it. If it's actually Amazon, if it's actually eBay, then maybe, if you're used to responding to some of these, but try to avoid that. Here's the thing. It encourages the spammers and their ilk to continually socially unacceptable means of selling product. That's part one. Part two, spammers aren't always legitimate, and your money may be gone. This is an important thing, especially pop-up ads. That's another thing. Pop-ups, pop-unders. If it pops up on the internet, raise an eyebrow. Look into the product if you're interested in the product. That's one thing, but don't buy something just because, oh, hey, I saw an ad for it. Don't post your email address, phone number, address, social security number, blood type, all that on the internet. You do your email address, you're going to get spam. You do your phone number, well, I post my phone number on the internet. I do get phone calls at odd times. Post your address. How many people are on the internet? How many people are on the internet that now have your home address? Be very careful about this kind of stuff. Social security number, well, that's obviously a little bit more obvious one, obviously. Here's another one. Don't forget to update your Windows, and actually most of your software these days. I originally thought Windows, but these days Adobe, all of your Adobe products, Mac OS, you can update that on a regular basis. Yeah, Keith says it's spend a little bit more time, wait a little bit for it. He is a little bit more cautious than I am. I'm kind of aggressive. There's something called Patch Tuesday. I usually wait a matter of a few days after Patch Tuesday. So the Friday after Patch Tuesday is typically when I install updates. Don't connect to the internet without a firewall or an antivirus, or both. Viruses, Trojans, worms, all of that, they're out there. That's a disaster waiting to happen. The firewall is a measure of protection as well. If you've got a hardware firewall, that's a broadband router, that's perfectly fine for your home. If you're out and about, you've got a laptop, look for something like Zone Alarm. They've got a free version of Zone Alarm. That's perfectly fine. Don't enter in any private information without seeing the tiny little padlock icon on the status bar of your browser. That's a very key item there. You want to make sure. And there's various ways on the browsers. Sometimes they put the whole address bar green and things like that. You want to know that you're dealing with a secure session, and the people who are receiving your information are securing the transition of that information from your computer to their computers. Here's another one for you. You get any emails from a Nigerian prince? Yeah, we know that one. Nigerian bankers. But let's take that a step further. We've made this into a big joke about it being the Nigerian prince. We all understand that. But there are increasingly more daring ones that seem a little bit more believable. Hey, Susie just sent me an email. She's in England. I didn't know she went on vacation. That is so cool. I want to go to England. Oh, wait. She needs money right now. She's about ready to be arrested. Oh, let's send her bail money. This is important. We can't stop. We got to do that right away. No, that's a scam. There's a number of these out there. They're always trying this one. One more item, and this should be a no-brainer, but don't set up a wireless broadband router utilizing the default settings for your wireless router's name and password. As a matter of fact, change your passwords on a regular basis. If you haven't done it in a year, change them now. That's right, right now. Drop everything, go and change all of the passwords you haven't changed in the last year. I do it more often than that, believe it or not. This is Benjamin Rockwell. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio. Stick with us. We've got more information for you here. I'm constantly looking for the right place to get the things that are on my nerd wish list. It's not easy. There are so many stores that have gone out of business. There are so many shady characters online, or so many of them are just simply not capable of handling my needs in a one-stop shop. In 1979, two guys got together and built the brick-and-mortar company that could serve your tech needs. Of course, today, they've got an online presence, and it's called Micro Center. They've got tablets, iPad, yes, but also Android and Windows and all the accessories, too. They've got laptops, desktops, all-in-ones, Windows or Apple, of course, all covered here. Motherboards and processors, and okay, all right, who are we kidding? It's really everything to build your own PC. Keyboards, mice, surge protectors, software, tools, and thumb drives. Enough. Look, from Apple to Zyxel, Micro Center has what you're looking for. 25 stores across the nation, or you can check them out online at microcenter.com. That's microcenter.com. The phone number, 888-NERD-888. That's 888-6373-888. Jesse Pulaski joins me now, and of course, we get into more of that business buzz. We start talking about some of the different things that go on in your small home office concept, your small to medium-sized businesses, and we try to help bridge that gap with Jesse. And Jesse, one of the big things that I'm aware of, but I want to know if you can perhaps shed a light for some of the listeners as far as the concepts between your various hardware that you might buy for a home versus stuff you would buy for a business. I just recently had opportunity to get a quote on some new scanners, for instance, and sometimes you get those conversations with people of, hey, why don't we just buy $100 desktop scanner? I'm going, yeah, that's not going to work.
And that right there is the most important piece, and a fight that I'm fighting every single day. The first thing you want to understand is that there is a difference between consumer grade electronics and enterprise level technology. And I'm not just talking about speeds and feeds, ability for output, things like that. Some of it is a lot more subtle, but it's all really important. And it's not always things you're going to see, right? So you could put a consumer desktop and an enterprise class workstation side by side. You look at it, same processor, it's got the same RAM, it's got a similar case, except the consumer one is $200 less. Why is that? Well, in this example, let's say we're talking Dell, right? Just specifically.
Sure, yeah.
Their support infrastructure is completely different. The number that you're calling for that system you bought at Best Buy and the response time and resolutions that you're going to get are different than the kind of support that's available to you when you buy a true enterprise class system. So that's number one.
Yes.
I mean, and with some technologies, it goes even deeper than that. When we start talking displays, and this is a discussion that I have to have all the time. People love digital signage, right? It changes the whole look, particularly not necessarily small office, home office, but when you start actually talking of larger offices where you have a public presence, digital signage can be what differentiates you from your local competition. And day after day, people want to go to, I'll use Best Buy again, and pick up a 52-inch Emerson television and hang it on their walls and call it good.
Yeah.
And for something like that, we're not just talking the technology involved. In a lot of those cases, it's actually violating the EULA, the end user agreement, and the warranty. You use it in a corporate setting, and they're not going to support it at all. So there's a lot of differences.
And I see this in printers too. I see this. People, ask me, there's a $2,000 printer, there's a $100 printer, and they go, "What's the difference between the two of them?" And it's like it's night and day. One of those will allow you to put out a ream or two a year. And the other one will allow you to put out a ream or two of paper every day. And they're both going to get repaired at the same time about 5 years from now.
And that's the unfortunate part, is that some of it, if you don't trust your reseller or you don't trust your technology resource, whoever it is that you're talking to about this stuff, the only way to learn is to put them side by side and run them. You know what I mean? Like you'll look at something that's like, well, holds the same amount of paper, and this one, like you said, it's $200 versus $2,000. When you don't realize that one's scoped to do 30,000 prints a month or whatever, you know what I mean? A wide range there. And the only way you're going to see is if you try and buy that consumer grade printer and start running off all of your work stuff on it, because it's going to break. It's going to break fast. And then you find out that it's more expensive to fix it or find components than it is to just go buy another. Because that's the purpose of consumer grade electronics, is to be consumable. It's meant to, kind of the built-in obsolescence thing. It's designed to be less expensive to replace your printer, your computer, your whatever every year, 2 years, 3 years than to fix it. Whereas for corporate level or enterprise level stuff, we're talking about planned life cycles. We're also talking about longer life cycles. That's the other thing. If you're into standardization or you're into ease of finding products, there are defined set life cycles on these enterprise products. So you got to trust who you're buying it from.
And that's that is one big thing that we probably have to think about. Let me ask you something. Is there any kind of guideline that you use? Like for me, I use an interesting guideline for, we'll just use for printers. One of the guidelines I tell people is you look at how much you're printing out in the span of a month, and your toner has to you should be buying toner no more than once every 3 to 6 months. And that's a great
benchmark.
You like that one? I've been using that for ages, and it turns out that it really runs right in there. These people will buy these small little printers, and they're replacing the toner once a month. And I'm going, you're gonna have like flame coming out of that. It's smoke. It's gonna make an entire plastic disaster on top of your desk if you do that. Mm-hmm. You're just gonna burn it up. And the flip side, of course, you don't need to buy the $2,000 printer if you're at home and you're printing off a legal contract once a month or something like that. You're buying toner once every 12 years.
That's, really at the foundation of any business, right? Particularly with how prevalent all technology is, it really does come down to understanding your needs and being realistic about it. Really, you get into any project, whether you're setting up a new office or anything else, it's, know your needs, trying to anticipate it, know your budget, and then find someone who knows more than you to help you hit as many of those check marks as you can.
Sure. Yeah, this is definitely an area which I hope people start thinking about this. I want you to feel free, by the way, if you're listening, to ask us any questions in the business realm. We can always take not only just the consumer questions, the standard questions, but if I've got a business question here, I'll kick that on over to Jesse. All you got to do is go to the website computertalkradio.com, slide down to where it says contact us, and Jesse or I will get back to you with answers in regards to your business environment, your small home office.
If I don't know it, I can certainly find someone who does.
Definitely. That's Jesse Pulaski, and I'm Benjamin Rockwell. I'll be back with more Computer Talk Radio in just a moment.
Hey guys, this is Benny Rockwell. Most of us use video cameras nowadays, but what about those old movie films in the back of your closet? Well, let me tell you about Legacy Digital Productions. They specialize in taking your old memories on film, videotape, and slides and digitizing them to DVDs. Imagine Grandpa's old 8mm and 16mm films that are just sitting in a box getting old and fading away. Legacy Digital will clean and recondition those films, capture them digitally frame by frame, and then produce beautiful DVDs of your precious memories on long-lasting, archive-quality discs. They don't use a projector, and your films can't be damaged in the process, the best available for families like yours. The final results are gorgeous. What better way to preserve those precious memories for future generations? Call right now, mention my name, Benny Rockwell, and receive a 30% discount on your order. Call toll-free 1-866-2-LEGACY. That's 1-866-2-LEGACY. 1-866-253-4229. And tell them Benny sent you. Your memories are priceless. So call 866-2-LEGACY now.
The website, computertalkradio.com, computertalkradio.com. Steve Keske joins me now. And Steve, one of the things that I've been meaning to ask, and I don't know, so we're kind of diving in on this. Have you done anything in regards to cord cutting, in regards to getting away from cable and all of the television in that direction?
Well, I never had cable in the first place, but
okay.
I watch cable when I travel.
Yeah.
On the TVs there.
Sure.
And cable, for what they do in hotels, now they got a lot of channels.
Yeah.
But their content on cable is going downhill.
Yeah, it is. It has been. There are some things here and there that are really good, but you wind up usually having to pay for it. It's like we've got 500 channels, or somewhere thereabouts where I live, and I think we watch maybe, other than utilizing one of the news channels in my home, I'd be pressed to say that we watch 2 extra channels beyond the local, what we can get via the air. Yeah. We have cable because we have the DVR. We have the box that records everything, but we could easily move from DVR to over-the-air DVR too. So.
Sure, and it's the same thing with me here on the East Coast. I mean, the channels that I have available.
Yes.
Over the air is like 40 channels when I do a scan.
Mm-hmm.
Of that 40, I think I actually tune in and one time or other, probably about 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, looking at the cable, other than going out there and looking at one or two channels, I mean, to me, it's a desert out there. I mean, if you're a sports nut, fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a sports nut.
Yeah, me either.
And all that. Now you get into going away from the cable, you're going to get into these online streaming, TV streaming
services like Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have Netflix in our house and Amazon Prime. We had Hulu a while back, but I kind of gave up on Hulu. It seemed like they didn't have much of the content that I wanted to watch.
Yeah. Well, Hulu says they're going to, in 2017 sometime, they're going to add in Fox and Disney.
Okay, so they're looking at expanding their coverage. That's good.
Yeah, and between, if you go with the Hulu, the Google, the AT&T, the Netflix, and all these, I can understand them trying to actually draw everybody away from cable.
Yeah.
Do their online services. Because if you've got a very fast connection, those streaming services can get really, beneficial. You could be watching this just like you're watching your regular TV set.
Yes, it is. It is quite amazing, and I think 2 megabit. I'm doing this from memory. I think 2 megabit is how much you need for streaming standard high definition video. That's your 2K or 1920 by 1080. 4K takes up a bunch more bandwidth, but you can get some really good quality video on par with what you're getting from your cable company.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I can understand that.
Yeah. This is one of those things where I know the quote. It says, "Content is king," and the idea of coming up with all of these different services. We want to get what we want. Somebody who's got a family may be more interested in Hulu or Netflix versus Amazon Prime. If you have no kids in the house, Amazon Prime has a good selection. Netflix has a lot of the Marvel series, but they also have some good quality stuff. Netflix has been around for a while. They're the king of the hill on this concept here.
Sure. And they wanted to go out and actually compete with all of the cable companies, with all the TV stations and all this. And that's what they're doing. They're starting to compete with these different systems.
Yeah. I think long term we're going to see that everybody is shifting in this direction. I think we've got an entire shift of people moving away. My son and his wife, they have no cable. They don't even bother with over the air. They are dealing with just the services that they can get over the internet.
Yeah.
And that's something that is going to, it's saving them money, but it's also going to readjust priorities to some extent, I think.
Yeah, and one of those things are going to be able to, hey guys, you had this on last night and I wasn't here to watch it. Can I watch it tonight?
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely going to be quite a powerful tool for a lot of people to do that.
Oh yeah.
Or to go back and watch seasons of videos that they haven't, various programs that they haven't seen, and now they can binge watch. Very common thing. This is Benjamin Rockwell. That's Steve Keske. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio Deb Shadovitz joins me next here on Computer Talk Radio. Years ago, I found a web hosting company that fit my needs as a computer nerd, as a radio show host, and, well, a normal person. Recently, though, it became clear to me that it was time to upgrade. I had a choice between my old plan and the new one at 7 times the cost. It was that awkward point where I could choose between a sip of water or being dunked in a pool. I searched around, comparing the many options for someone like me. After looking for 3 weeks, there it was, SiteGround. In proper fashion, I tested their customer service, their knowledge, and their care, their willingness to do things the right way. The SiteGround salesman made sure that I didn't overbuy and get a 50-gallon bucket when all I needed was a 1-gallon bucket. The folks at SiteGround know WordPress, Joomla, and more. SiteGround.com. SITE ground.com for your web hosting needs. SiteGround. Deb Shadovitz joins me now.
Hey, Ben.
Hey.
I wanted to tell you about something that I've been using while I was traveling. And, you know, I love gadgets and I love technology, but I was carrying everything on my back, so I wasn't taking too many things with me. But this thing that I took with me is, about the size of a matchbox, maybe. Actually, it's thinner. And it's called the Wavjamr, Wavejmr. And I had it with me because...
Yeah, I've had one of those.
You remember this thing?
Yeah.
So what I loved about it was you've got these gorgeous docks we all bought with the 30-pin iPod connector, and we could play our music, and the speakers were great. They were small.
You dropped your iPhone straight into the dock. It was beautiful sound, it was great. I probably had a couple of those.
Yeah,
and then the lightning connector came along.
Yes, and you know when the lightning connector came along? I left in 2011. That's when I packed everything that I owned into boxes and stored them.
Oh, yeah.
And I came home in 2016, and I pulled out my beautiful speakers that were so small and light and did such good room sound. And I looked at them and I said, oh, no, I can't use them anymore. I have a lightning iPod now and a lightning iPhone now. And then I remembered, wait a minute, my ditty bag that I've been traveling with has a Wavjamr in it.
Oh,
so
great,
I just took it out of my little ditty bag and I popped it onto the 30-pin. It goes where the iPod goes. Mm-hmm. And I synced it to, turned on the Bluetooth, and it chose it as a device, and now my speakers work again and they're Bluetooth.
That's great. This is one of those things where I get deluged by all kinds of different items to review and different equipment all over that I decide I want, but I know I'm not being very eco-friendly with it because I've got a lot of stuff that I really. I hang on to way too much, actually.
I know where you're going with that, because this is something that bothered me, too. Everyone that's got these 30-pin connector docks says, oh, I can't connect it anymore, so what am I going to do with it? Do they go out and buy and spend $132 on a new dock system or something like that? And you don't have to do that, because when you have the Wavjamr, your old speakers become new again. They become Bluetooth. So we don't have to throw things in the scrapyard.
Now, if I recall correctly, was that something that was from John Kraskowiak? I'm not sure if I'm saying that, but from RadTech, right?
Yes. Actually, the website for this device is wavjamr.com, Wavejamr.com.
Uh-huh.
When you click to buy it, it goes over to RadTech. Because John, who created RadTech Solutions, happens to be a really great engineer, which is why I've always liked his products.
Yeah.
So this is something, when John sees a need for something, he engineers it himself.
Very cool.
So this is a device that I'm in love with.
Definitely. This is Benjamin Rockwell. That's Deb Shadovitz. You're listening to Computer Talk Radio. We'll catch you next week.
Let me tell you about the Radio Factory, an exciting new venue for talk radio. It's the internet, the wave of the present. My name is Benjamin Rockwell, and I'm the host of a syndicated radio program, Computer Talk Radio. So I know the internet is here and now. Many of the hosts at theradiofactory.com have their own podcasts or radio shows across the country, but many people like the comfort of listening to their own special radio show at a specific time and day, much like we watch live television. The internet, as you're probably aware, is a powerful tool that allows the Radio Factory to deliver unique programming with far more variety than the windbags who are simply about contriving up viewpoints to get you riled up. Additionally, you'll find that many of the programs are shorter, giving more information in less time. Stick with theradiofactory.com and see how it evolves to keep you entertained, interested, informed, and above all, intelligent. After all, the Radio Factory motto is building your intelligence one talk show at a time.